to all who call upon God. Ashrei Yoshvei Techa, Odi Hallelujah, be blessed. Ashrei Ha'am Shekachalo, Ashrei Ha'am Shanaylo, be happy. Ashrei Yoshvei Techa, Odi Hallelujah, Tefillah LeDavid. Ashrei Ha'am Shekachalo, Ashrei Ha'am Shadonai Arumim Chalavai HaMelech V'Machar Shekal Le'olam Va'ed V'chol Yom Na'varcheka V'Lalad Shekal Le'olam Va'ed Gadol Adonai U'Olam Ador V'Ligla Kohen Heker Dor L'Dor Shabach Ma'asecha V'Uratecha Yagidu Hadar Kavod L'Techa V'Divrei L'Techa Asicha V'Zuf L'Rotecha Yomeru V'Shuvacha Asaprena Zecher Rabbecha Yabiu V'Tzidkacha Yiranenu Chanun B'Rakum Adonai Erach Pamut HaChased Tov Adonai L'Chol V'Chamal V'Toma'asah Guduk Adonai K'Ma'asecha V'Chasidecha Yivakucha Kavod Malchutecha Yomeru V'Gvurata Yidaberu L'Odia T'Shechana Gvurata V'Kvod Dahar Malchuta 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 L'Olamim Malchutecha B'Sudor V'Dor Malchuta Malchuta L'Olamim Shaltecha B'Sudor V'Dor Somech Adonai L'chol Noflim B'Zokef L'chol HaKefufim Enehu L'lecha Yisaveru V'Ata Noten Lecha V'Tacham B'Ito Poteach Et Yadecha U'Maskiach L'chol Haratzon Hadif Adonai L'chol Rachal V'Hashiv U'Ma'asav Karov Adonai L'chol Torah L'chol Sheka'u V'Emet R'tzon Yerushav Yaseh V'Et Shabbatam Yishma V'Yoshim Shomer Adonai Et Kol Avav V'Et Shoshoim Yoshmid Tila Adonai Yedaber Pi V'Yivarech Kol Basar Shem Kodsho Le'olam Va'ed V'Anachnu Nevarech Yah Me'ata V'Ad Olam Hallelujah 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 Ashrei Ashrei Shana Tova, and thank you to my colleagues, Rabbi Cecilia Bayer, Chazan, Jenna Greenberg, and Cantor Daniel Singer for helping me bring my new arrangement of Ashrei to life. I'm Chazan Stephen Walvick, and this is the East Northport Jewish Center supplementary video for the 5782 High Holiday season. In it, you will see an exclusive bonus sermon by Rabbi Ian Silverman, as well as messages from Mel Noble and Rabbi Deborah Miller on Israel bonds and Torah fund. Mel assures me that he has new jokes this year, but I leave it to your own judgment on whether they're good jokes. We also have greetings from your new president, Robin Kain, as well as from those board members who got their videos to me on time. Additionally, you can listen to my Hineni, which, alas, I won't be able to do live this year as we are striving to have an extremely streamlined service to limit the potential exposure time in our sanctuary for everyone as this pandemic continues to ravage our country. As always, links in the description will allow you to skip to the sections most appropriate for you. May we all be written in the book of good life, of healthy life, and a resumption of Jewish communal life for 5782 Shana Tova Umituka.
L'Shana Tova. It was mealtime during a flight from New York City to Tel Aviv. The flight attendant asked Moish, "Would you like dinner?" Excitedly, Moish asked, "What are my choices?" The attendant replied, "Yes or no." After his arrival in Israel, Moish could hardly wait to book tours. One tour included attendance at a concert in the Moskowitz Auditorium. He was quite impressed with the architecture and the acoustics. Moish inquired of the tour guide, "Is this magnificent facility named after Chaim Moskowitz, the famous Talmudic scholar?" "No," replied the guide. "It's named after Sam Moskowitz, the writer." "Never heard of him. What did he write?" asked Moish. "A check," the guide answered. Just as Moish might have said yes about having an in-flight dinner, I suggest that most of us can say yes about investing in State of Israel bonds. While our checks will probably not add up to the size of Sam Moskowitz's single donation, we will be doing our part to invest in Israel's future. I'm confident that we all appreciate why it's imperative to buy State of Israel bonds. Consider what Yair Lapid, Israel's foreign minister, stated when he recently visited the train station in Berlin, where the transports of German Jews to concentration camps began. Lapid suggested that the Holocaust taught us that Israel and its citizens must always be secure. He went on to say that Israel's actions make it abundantly clear to the rest of the world that, quote, "we will not board the train again. We will protect ourselves from evil," unquote. I would add that Israel can also rely upon the Jewish people beyond its borders to provide support and assistance. Regrettably, anti-Semitism is alive and well, rearing its ugly head in many places. All of the Jews on the face of this earth, including those finalizing plans to immigrate to the Holy Land to escape the claws of hatred and discrimination, must feel confident that Israel is strong enough to withstand whatever is thrown at her. So let's serve as modest versions of Sam Moskowitz by compensating for last year's absence of the bond appeal. Let's help to keep Israel strong by investing a bit more in Israel bonds than we usually do. In your high holiday ticket envelope, which you have received or will be receiving shortly, you will see that there is an Israel bond pledge card and envelope. Please turn down the tabs for the bonds you select and fill out the rest of the information. There will be extra pledge cards and envelopes on the table in the ENJC lobby. As always, after receiving your pledge card, State of Israel bond personnel will forward confirming paperwork to you in a timely fashion. May Israel remain strong and safe, and may we all experience a healthy, happy, and safe New Year. Lishana Tova.
Over 100 years ago, Matilda Schechter joined with a group of other women to establish the Women's League for Conservative Judaism. One of the centerpieces of their organization was the Torah Fund, established to support the needs of the students who would become the leaders of our movement, our clergy, our educators, and our lay leaders. My name is Rabbi Deborah Miller, and I'm one of the thousands who have benefited from the amazing work of the Torah Fund and the Women's League for Conservative Judaism. This Rosh Hashanah, I'm asking you to join me in supporting this wonderful organization as they continue to support not just our clergy, but our students at the seminaries for the conservative and Masorti movement around the world, in New York, in Los Angeles, in Argentina, in Germany, and of course in Israel. May we all be privileged to be written in the book of life. Wishing everyone a happy and a healthy 5782.
הגיבור והנורא אל עליון יהיה אשר יהיה שכל המלכים שהם בעלי תפילות יביאו תפילתי לפני כיסא כבודך ויציגו אותה לפניך בעבור כל הצדיקים והחסידים התמימים והישרים ובעבור כבוד שמך הגדול והנורא כי אתה שומע תפילת עמך ישראל ברחמים ברוך אתה שומע
Shana Tova u'Metuka to all. L'Shana Tova tikatev tichatem. We should all be inscribed for a good year, a year of life and health. My sermon is Fearing and Embracing the Unknown. And I'd like to thank Rabbi Ben Herman, a friend and former rabbi in Long Island, for sparking the sermon. And I'd like to thank our talented Chazan for putting this video together. The original Star Trek, when it began, set the narrative with music while the spacecraft sped into the galaxy and said, "Space, the final frontier. The mission of our Starship Enterprise is to boldly go where no man has gone before." The Enterprise dared to embrace the unknown, confronting its dangers and wonders along the way. The galaxies of Star Trek are not the only frontiers of the unknown these days. They're also today's unknowns. The world as we know it, or don't know it, is full of unknowns. The year of 2020 was spent in mortal fear against an unknown virus. Then, remarkably, a strong vaccine emerged. Many of us braved its emergency authorization and got our shots. We thought COVID-19 was a thing of the past, just a few months ago, and we would soon get back to normal. But then the Delta variant hit. And so, with so many still unvaccinated and society opening up again, we experienced a kind of whiplash effect into uncertainty once again. Will my job be there? Will work ever get back to being in the office? Will the economy grow or shrink? Will the political stability be ever again? With the 2020 and 2016 elections, which have so rocked the confidence of the electorate. Will our kids be okay, having gone through now what it might become 2 years of being a mask-wearing student, and virtual classrooms and school closing, God forbid, yet another year? Will there be a vaccine for our youngsters, not too young to receive them? Will there be jobs waiting for our college graduates? So many unknowns rock our world. And in an article in Elemental.com entitled "Science Explains Why Uncertainty is So Hard on Our Brain," Markham Hyde, a freelance author, quotes horror author H.P. Lovecraft, who says, "The oldest and strongest emotion of humankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown." Hyde and Lovecraft's basic premise is that uncertainty and anxiety that are left unchecked can cause a disruption with the receptors in the brain which channel and reinforce worry, leading to serious overreactions to negative experiences or information. In other words, uncertainty or fear of the unknown acts like rocket fuel for worry and causes people to see threats everywhere they look. No doubt, this partially explains our current, very difficult societal and political climate. A 2009 nursing study further showed that in patients with breast tumors, a peak anxiety occurred before diagnosis, whether malignant or benign. Anxiety, being future-oriented, always entertained worst-case scenarios. Anxiety subsided with the diagnosis, even a malignant one, because though not good news at all, it gave the patient something to latch onto, something to focus on, and a plan to implement. Uncertainty pre-diagnosis was worse. And that's why, of course, it's better to give commuters a minute-by-minute prognosis of when the late train or bus will come, rather than leaving them simply hanging. With all this information on the harm that uncertainty can generate in the human psyche, the question emerges, how can I withstand the unknown? And I'm here to tell you I'm uncertain. I don't know. However, if we look at Jewish tradition, the Bible, some responses on behalf of the Jewish mystics, maybe we can get some perspective and direction. Knowing or not knowing are two things that are important, and they actually typify a wise person. On the one hand, a wise person is somebody who can see eventualities. On the other hand, Pirkei Avot tells us that a wise person must teach their tongue to say, I do not know. Sometimes not knowing gets us into trouble, like when the Israelites didn't know what happened to their leader Moshe, brought them out of Egypt, and they built a golden calf. And sometimes trying to know too much led to trouble as well, as we know from the first lesson of the Garden of Eden, in which the first humans sought to eat from the tree of knowledge and all the consequences that came from that. God himself is limited in what he knows as well. And we learn that even from the first story of the Torah, which teaches that God first created human beings in his image and his likeness, a solitary individual. And then realized, it was not good for a person to be alone, and created a woman. And in this sense, we see that God is, in a sense, learning by trial and error. The great medieval Jewish philosopher contends that even though our high holidays strive to make a case that God knows every striving of our heart, everything that we think, it's not the case, as this would limit human beings' free will to choose. God is a God who wishes to be pleasantly surprised by his human creation. And since God imparted a good and bad inclination, that decision and that thought process has to be ours. So if there are unknowns for God, then certainly there will also be unknowns always for us. How are we to cope with them when they are so worrying these days? How do we sit with our unknowns and continue without damaging the soul? I'm not a rabbi that will tell you that God controls everything and that therefore we're enduring this for a reason and that one day his reason will come to light. I believe this tendency in traditional Jewish thought can be very destructive. Did God bring us challenges like the Holocaust and climate change for a reason? Or are most of our problems challenges and evils, a result of human negligence, human malice? I'm of the persuasion of Rabbi Yitzhak Greenberg, a contemporary Jewish philosopher who I admire, that in the shadow of the Holocaust we must for once and for all understand that God doesn't interpose himself in human affairs, and therefore God does not dole out punishments and suffering, each according to their deeds and so forth and so on. God has, like a good parent, in past millennium maybe, held hands of humanity in our more youthful history, but now expects us to walk and grow from our own challenges, often of our own making. I guess in this respect, God is very invested, but as a coach, as a spectator, as a cheerleader, we are in the driver's seat in terms of how we must rescue ourselves. An important thing to do for ourselves, therefore, is to ride the unknown by transcending it and by seeking to try to find moments where we're simply living in the now, living in the moment. Our Jewish mystics advise that we should develop a meditative relationship with God. That prayer is good as a formal prayer, but it's also important as an informal one. That God is beyond us, but that God too is within us, and that meditation is a manner, maybe a formal one that we should institute every day, every week, bi-monthly, that will allow us to converse with our soul, that peace of God that lives within us. Amid very frightening uncertainties, concentrate on anything that pulls you into the immediate moment. It might be, says Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan in his book, The Jewish Meditation, that you have to initially focus on some concrete task and train your mind, like, for instance, rearranging furniture. Maybe you could start there and simply focus your mind on that immediate moment. But the idea is to gently train your mind to eventually focus on more important matters, less concrete matters like rearranging your life. What is your purpose in life? You might ask, as it were, your soul, that peace of God within you. What gives you deep meaning? What would you have done more in your youth if you'd had a chance to do so? What is the meaning of existence or your role in the world? These inner consultations remove you. Train your mind to remove you and really move you away from those worrying distractions and uncertainties in the everyday, which prevent you from being either with your inner self or in conversation with a higher power, however you define it. And this regular routine meeting with God, as it were, makes certain that you're not alone in facing uncertainty, and it also trains the mind so that you can understand that you can move yourself away from these worrying things that get you stuck. Rav Nachman of Bratslav suggested it's not always easy. Sometimes you have to go outside. Solitude is important. Nature is important. The way he said it was, teach me to understand that every blade of grass has a soul, and that therefore my soul too can great praises, to pray, to inquire, to converse with God, to give gratitude. The Bratslaver also admitted that sometimes you don't know what to say, and that therefore you should unburden yourself by seeking to take counsel with God anyway and putting the burden on God and saying, in his words, God, open my lips to speak your praises, to unburden my soul. In any case, transcending anxiety and fear of the unknown need not require a formal meditative moment, but so many informal meditative moments are also achievable. It can be activities that you thrust yourself into in the present moment, the richness of the now, singing, listening to music, indulging your soul to relax with music, good conversation with a trusted friend, even playing cards can bring you into the now. For me, it happens to be immersing myself in nature, walking in the woods or the bluff with my dog Sammy, taking my kayak out for 20 minutes of vigorous paddling, but the whole thing is nice. Putting my kayak on the car, tying it down, taking it off, bringing it out, putting it back. The smells and the sound of the water, the elegance of the hair, the majesty of the osprey, the zen of the entire experience. That does it for me. A flow state that stays with me the whole day long. Do you have something that does that for you? That puts you in a zone, even for only moments? Being around your grandchildren, playing around at golf, drawing, painting, writing poetry, doing work with your hands, pottery or woodwork, gardening, sharing a laugh with a friend. Those are the things that take you out of your normal routine. And those are the things that put you into the richness of the moment, which allow the aggravations and the fears and the unknowns to melt away. My son Alan reminded me of a wonderful insight. Worry brings you into the future. Depression keeps you stuck in the past. So the trick may well be to do the things that you love on a consistent basis, that thrust you, into the present. In the book of Exodus in Parshat Bo, when Pharaoh grudgingly agrees to let the people go, he gingerly asks Moshe, "When can I send you? For how long? How many men?" And Moshe answers, "Lo neda men na'avod et Hashem, ad asher bo'enu shama." We will not know how to worship God until we get to that place. Ad bo'enu shama. No doubt in the context, Moshe was simply calling his bluff. It's not suffering the fools that Pharaoh is trying to convince him to go piecemeal. Moshe said nothing to him. We're taking everybody, all the herds, all the women, all the children. But Rabbi Shepard Gold wrote a beautiful niggin on this verse, because we can also understand it as our need to be in the moment, and that faith is all about arriving at every moment. We cannot know how we will worship God, how we will frame our faith, express ourselves spiritually, until we arrive in that place. That place is this moment and the next moment. That place is where we arrive in the time of unknowns in every moment. And we can do perhaps no better than that in this time fraught with our unknowns. Here is her melody.
Lo neda ma na'avod et ya'ad bo'enu shama. 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 Lo neda ma na'avod et ya'ad.
We don't know how we will serve Hashem until we get there. Says Rabbi Gold, we don't know what form our faith will take, what the world will be like, or what will be asked of us. The world is in flux, and our lives are also changing moment to moment. We just don't know. Not knowing can be terrifying, and yet it also holds the infinite potential of our power and creativity. We can only prepare for this mystery by becoming fully present, by accessing the fullness of being in this moment, knowing that when we are called, we will respond with that fullness, that presence. Like Moshe, the children of Israel, when they moved from slavery to freedom, our journey into freedom will be when we dare to live in a place of uncertainty that we hold with the confidence that just showing up in our own uniqueness and in our own presence in the moment is enough. We won't know what is needed until we get there. Each moment is a new there. Says Kain, worry doesn't help. All worry does is build up the brain connections and synapses that are involved in worry. And neither do researchers say that trying to understand everything possible with COVID-19 is a good answer. It can result, you see, in information overload. So what can people do to combat the effects of uncertainty? Research shows that focusing on the present can help dispel uncertainty and the anxiety it foments. So do things that you enjoy. Do things that get your brain into the present moment and your heart and your soul into the now. And may I humbly suggest, get in the habit of daily consultation, maybe informal prayer, maybe in more informal consultation with the Creator of the universe, with the Rabbi Shalom, with the Master of the universe, your divine parent. And even if the resolution is slow in coming of your problems, you will have another shoulder with which to carry your anxiety. Being in the moment and embracing the moment, my friends, is a component of mindfulness that can distract us from worry and what may or may not happen, so says all the experts. Mindfulness is a component of Eastern philosophical and cultural traditions. Buddhism has this emphasis of letting go of things of which we have little control. And so do the Jewish mystics. Rabbi Gold's insight of the importance of training ourselves, training our souls to meet each and every moment anew, in spite of the unknowables, is an important contribution. May this year be one sweetened, my friends, by taking steps into the present and future, with open heart, with fullness of presence, and may we, with each and every moment, be willing to ride the tide of the unknown, wherever it may take us. Lo neda ma na'avod et Hashem ad bo'enu shama. Every moment is a new moment, is a new there. May we reach it with invigorated faith. Shana Tova u'Metuka.
Lo neda ma na'avod et Yah ad bo'enu shama. Lo neda ma na'avod et Yah ad bo'enu shama.
Hi, I'm Robin Kain, president of the East Northport Jewish Center. The last year and a half has been extremely challenging, to say the least. Your clergy and the board have worked tirelessly to keep the ENJC running, even while it seemed the whole world was falling apart around us. And we will continue to be here for our ENJC family. I'm proud to say that we will be celebrating the New Year together again in our sanctuary. On behalf of the entire congregation and my family, Brian, Mitchell, and Emily, I wish you a very happy and, most importantly, healthy New Year. Shana Tova u'Metuka.
Shana Tova u'Metuka.
From our family to yours, we wish you the sweetness of family time and the closeness of community.
May you have only health, happiness, productivity, and meaning this coming year. Shana Tova.
Happy New Year from Beth and Steve Krantz. Shana Tova.
From the Weinsteins.
Have a good New Year.
From our family to yours, we wanted to wish you a very happy and healthy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. L'shana Tova.
Hi, everyone. L'shana Tova.
Have a happy and healthy New Year.
Wishing you and yours
a Shana Tova and a Gemar Chatima Tova.
From the Kazaz.
L'shana Tova u'Metuka.
Hi, this is Terry Ackerman. I'm very excited to be on the ENJC Board of Directors for the first time. And Joel and I would like to wish everybody a very happy and healthy New Year. Shana Tova.
Hi, this is Brad Becker. And from my family to yours, I'd like to wish you a very happy New Year. L'shana Tova.
Hi, everyone. I hope you and your family enjoy the holidays and have a happy and healthy New Year.
Hi, this is Richard Vladimir, the president of the Men's Club. L'shana Tova to everybody.
L'shana Tova from the Berman family to yours.
Shana Tova from Chazan Walvik.
From Deborah.
And Larry.
Mia Shafel. Umi Yarum. Well, it's pretty awesome.
Hallelujah. 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 Ashrei. Ashrei. Ashrei, Ashrei.
Set. Zip. You did it.